Hello there, it's me, your host Folky. This is the Folklore of Being, and I may be slightly over-caffeinated. In today's episode, we are looking at the folklore of dinner time, and we are at the table. So, if your parents were like mine, they would have taught you not only some table manners, but some long, lingering table superstitions. Now, of course, the first that's going to spring to your mind is the spilling of salt, but the kitchen and the dinner table are, in fact, rich in folklore that brings both good and evil tidings, as well as predicting futures and, of course, death. It's not just the way the food is kept and prepared, but ways in which you should conduct yourself if you want a misfortune-free meal. So, despite already being over-caffeinated, I'm going to take a sip of coffee and then we're going to have a look at some of the beliefs and practices that involve the staples of the kitchen and of your dinner time. So here we are at the table and you have your knife and fork in hand. Now, if you drop either one of these, they must be picked up in silence and by someone other than the person who dropped it. Otherwise, misfortune will befall them. It was also believed that the dropping of a table knife would mean a man was coming to visit, a fork a woman, and a spoon a child. And lastly and strangely, to drop a carving knife denoted that you would get a visitor in the form of a policeman. You know what, I'm surprised it wasn't a peeler. And if you get that joke, you're a nerd. Now raise your hand if you were taught the delicate messaging of cutlery and fine dining, despite the fact that you were sitting at your own dinner table eating Bernard Matthews turkey drumsticks, potato waffles and beans. You were no doubt taught variations which included the crossing of the knife and fork, which I recall meaning that you had not finished eating. But now I know better and can blame all my misfortunes not on my chaotic personality, but on the fact that crossing your knife and fork brings misfortune to the person. We chime our glasses together in a form of greeting and good luck at the dinner table, but in many of the seafaring towns in Britain, it is believed that causing a glass at a dinner table to accidentally ring out will cause a sailor to be drowned at sea, so you must silence the ring as soon as it is caused. Now we move on to another meal-based manifestation of fortune in the name of the humble dinner table. Offended by shoes and a symbol of healthy family values, it also serves a side dish of doom and ghostly doings. Of course, many a happy feast and fine dinings do occur at a dinner table, and so it's not a surprise that a family member who has carolaned into the spirit world would want to revisit such a happy space. And in some beliefs, at first death, the spirit is still very near and a little confused, and so an extra place is still laid out for the spirit until a month is over, when it is said that the spirit regains its mind and is able to move on. Now, before the guests arrive, you are going to want to decorate the table and pretty it up, so when you're laying out the tablecloth, if it happens to have a diamond shape in the centre of it, it is a sign of coming death. And if you're a visitor for the first time at a dinner party, do not fold your napkin, as this is a sure sign that you will never visit again. So we're playing Wonderwall on a guitar, just letting you know. You will also be disinvited to future dinner parties if you get up from the table and push your chair in. If the chair falls as you rise, it foretells bad fortune, for it either means that you are a speaker of untruths, will not be married soon, and it's an omen of death. If you need to season your meal with salt, take care when asking someone to pass the salt to you, for if it's spilled in doing so, a quarrel will be between the two of you. This is because salt was seen as pure and incorruptible and became a symbol of friendship. So to spill the salt is to upset the friendship. And if for some reason you take it upon yourself to season another person's food for them, it will cause them misfortune, and they may say, "Help me to salt, help me to sorrow." Finally, for this section, never have 13 at a table, as this will bring death to one or many of you. This superstition rises from the Last Supper, which had Judas Iscariot as the 13th person at the supper, and we all know how that ended. The Savoy has become known for its sculpture Caspar the Cat, who was placed as the 14th guest at a dinner due to the superstition seemingly coming true. In 1898, a wealthy man named Wolf Joel hosted a small private dinner at the Savoy, with a few of his guests dropping out, leaving the number of the table guests to come to 13. And naturally during the meal, a discussion on table superstitions came up, one of which was that the first to leave the table of a party of 13 would be the first to die. Wolf thought this to be complete bunkum and offered to leave the table first. And a few weeks later, he was shot dead. Of course, this rattled the Savoy, as you don't want dinner guests to fear death instead of botulism, so the hotel would place a member of staff as the 14th guest. But this is proper orcs, as the youth would say, both for the guests and for the Savoy, who were deprived of a member of staff and the guests of a freely expressed conversation, and so an architect was commissioned by the Savoy with one of the most 1920s names I'm ever going to utter, and that is Basil Ionides. Carved from wood and about 3 foot tall, he sits as the 14th guest at the table of 13, and he is served alongside the other guests each course. Look, now no rich person ever has to fear a side serving of mortality with their magnum of champagne and their caviar, alright? I'm not bitter, I swear. I like living on the breadline. Keeps the heart pumping nice and fast, and stress is good for you. And on that slightly bitter, over-caffeinated note, we'll leave it for here for now, and the next instalment will be on bread and eggs, and then after that milk and butter, and whatever else I find in me books. But in the meantime, thank you for watching. I really appreciate you being here. It means a lot to me and of course the algorithm. And I will say goodbye for now. So bye bye, and I promise not to have any more coffee. Or do I?